everyone. How are you guys doing? Don't be quiet, Tonya. You can talk.
Hello.
So today, our poll, we do a poll every week. I've already listed the poll for next week if you guys want to go vote. This week, we are discussing believing in God and serving spirit.
Which
Okay,
is a really good topic because some people think that you can't do both.
right. Um, yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of practices you can't, well, conjure for instance. When you're doing conjure, you really can't do conjure without the Bible. So yeah, it is different with her driving. She on the move, on the move. Um,
I Let me mute myself while you're talking.
oh, you're fine. There's no sound coming from you. Your car's quiet. There she is. There's Shishi. So what was I saying? Oh,
You were talking about
you
needing
can't.
the Bible.
Yeah, you can't even do conjure without the Bible because you use the verses from the Bible. I've already got mine blocked, but God to me, in any religion, they have Great Spirit, Yahweh, Adonai, God, all these different ones. Wiccan, I mean, everybody, and it's like a hierarchy. There's God, and then you have your gods and goddesses, or your angels, and then there's a hierarchy there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to believe in God, because there's a God in every tradition, no matter what you call him. There's one great spirit, one God, that is above everyone else. So, what do you think, Shishi?
Hi, sorry for being late.
No.
I do believe that there are hierarchies when it comes to certain spirits or beings. Do I believe in God? Yeah, I do. I believe that we have one great spirit. I think it's because it was programmed to me, but also just researching, and I believe that we also have other spirits that may not be as elevated as the one great spirit, right? So we say. But looking at all spiritualities and all religions, if we go through, just dogma and organized religions, there's always one great spirit.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, has the same qualities, just with a different name.
Right.
So I
That's what,
completely understand
that's what I
with
was saying
that.
with Great Spirit, God, Yahweh, Adonai. No matter what you call it, there's like this one that's above all of the rest. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be. It I think there's a stigma around it being a Christian God,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. How does it? That's what we were talking about. Was I talking about it on here, or it may have been on here? I was talking about shit. I just had a moment. Oh
Well,
my!
here's the thing.
Go
Not
ahead.
every aspect
Sorry.
of God is a Christian God, right?
Huh?
Not every aspect of God is a Christian God
Right. I can't
because we
remember.
have different religions and we have different traditions.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, I
that's
know.
what it was. I was going to say. I said it on here before that different religions and different practices, every person is an individual and has their own individual path. What works for them doesn't have to be what works for me, and what works for me doesn't have to work for someone else. My path is individual to myself. Even I'm Jewish. That doesn't mean all Jews are going to do things exactly the way I do, because our path is individual. But
Well, I
you know,
think. Sorry, go ahead.
as far as God, I see God one way, you might see God another way, but it's still the one that's at the very top of the hierarchy.
I think in reality, no matter what your practice is, we're all connected to the higher spirit, the higher being.
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected to it either way. So whatever we practice is going to be usually in some belief or some relation to that. At least for our mindset. I know, I mean, I can only say this because I've sat down and talked to my mom about it many times. When I tell her that Christianity is a fairly new religion, she doesn't believe it. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, it would make sense that the Christian God is not the only God because it's a fairly new religion when it comes to like the timetable, the timeline. Now,
Let
let's
me.
see.
I'm gonna
I'm
keep. I'm gonna look for something because there's a thing I found. But go ahead.
as far as my research has shown, it still remains to be that Hinduism is the oldest practiced religion. Um, like as far as organized religion or so. But when it comes to the belief of can you believe in God and still practice with spirits and do what you do, well, yeah, you can because the Bible, A, is a spell book. But then also, if you look at it from a different perspective, the Bible is also a metaphysical manifestation book. So I think there's no problem with believing in a higher being and still doing what you're doing. Let me see. Laverne Calhoun said the gods, goddesses are intertwined with other deities, but then I was told that leads to angels.
Well, it's like a hierarchy. There's a
Mm-hmm.
hierarchy of gods and goddesses. There's also a hierarchy of the angels, and then there's other spirits. There's demons. There's all kinds, and it has a hierarchy.
You know what's interesting? It sounds weird, and I think we'll have to like cross this another day. But I actually came across the a reading that said, "What if God or Jesus Christ and Satan were the same person?" So we have to look into that one day because I've been digging into that. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting rabbit hole.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna wait to figure out what you found, Lynna, before I keep commenting.
No, keep going, because you're fine.
So I mean, I'm curious to know, like, how was this topic brought up? Were there people who felt like that they couldn't believe in God and still practice, or?
I'm not sure. Someone added it to the poll.
Wow, that's an
So
interesting ad.
yeah, it was. That's what I was telling Tanya, because it was written in as, and I'm not, you know, it was written in. It said believing in God but serving spirit. And as a grammar Nazi, I'm just going to say don't use the word but, because when you use the word but in the middle of the sentence, I could actually tell Shishi, I love you, but you're a pain in my ass.
Because it
But
negates what was said before.
yeah, so what I'm really saying is you're a pain in my ass. So don't say that. You can say believing in God and serving spirit, does it mix, or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, somebody Day Day saying she asked. I asked because I wanted to know, like, where does God come in as far as serving him and serving spirit. Yeah, I think it's a hierarchy, because the Catholics can pray to Saint Anthony to help them find something, if they've lost something, or call on the Morgan or other deities. But then there's that great spirit, that higher one, and I know it's in here. I can probably Google it faster than I can flip these pages.
I'm looking at Laverne Calhoun's. Are we going to also include the first practice of life source, such as Buddhism, Hindu, etc., in this video or another video? We can talk about it as well if you have questions. Like I said, as far as my research has shown me, Hinduism is the oldest practice religion when it comes to the religions such as Christianity, Buddhism, um, all of those things. As far as when I was doing the studies, they were the oldest. Lavetta Davis would like to know, why are the Christian saints used in the religions? So if you look at it, it's not only the Christian saints that are used in religions. It depends on what you're practicing, because you will have certain saints or certain beings across many different practices that have the same um, spiritual application, such as gift or so, and they have a different name. So why are the Christian saints used the most? I think that's because that was the religion that was most impressed upon people when they were conquered. If you really want to know, that's really what I believe.
Well,
Um,
it's there. Well, like Saint Bridget and Bridget, or Saint Bridget and Brigid, when the slaves were brought over and other people too, and they were forced more or less to, you know, attend Christian services and do this, they used those saints, those statues, those saints to honor their own saints. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
yeah, it does, but I also think it's because when it comes to, like, if you look at like how voodoo and voodoo and all that's mixed in, hoodoo, it's because when they were conquered, that was the reigning religion or the belief of the people that took over
Right.
the spot. So, and if we go back to the King James version of the Bible, when it was like really altered in Rome, he took out some things. He had to alter some things so that it could fit in with what was already Rome's spiritual belief. So what we're reading is definitely a translated, watered down version of what would originally be the original supposed Christianity. But there's a lot to that. We could be here like for hours talking about that, because I love spiritual studies. I love religious studies. I could sit in a class with religious studies all day long and just
Me too.
have a
My rabbi told me not to take any more classes because I was taking too many classes.
yeah. And you're right. They had to cover the religion up in order to survive. Um,
Okay, it's in Exodus chapter 20. And this
okay.
is
I
what
don't have a Bible.
I find this interesting. Um, well, let me see here. If I can pull it up. I'm gonna share it on the screen. StreamYard, if I can find it.
I'm gonna, before you share it on the screen or
Oh,
while you're figuring that out, because I'm gonna answer Day Day's. So for me, the Bible is a metaphysical book when it comes to manifestation. Depending on how you read it, and if you go really back to the name of God and Jesus Christ and how they're pronounced and the symbols that are used to actually configure those names,
mm-hmm.
it's actually pretty intriguing. Now, if you use it as a metaphysical book, a mystic book, when it comes to manifestation, and you really break it down, it talks about how we each have, or the Bible can be perceived as your story of life, depending on what path you're following. So basically, we're all connected to God. So God would be his name. He has a name that we know it's described as, but that's why we have the words of I am, because I am is basically God. And so when you're talking about yourself and you say I am, that's something that you're claiming as a fact, right? Which is why we say there's the two most powerful words that you can start with is I am, because then whatever you follow that with is stating something to be true about yourself. But if you base it on the fact that we all have God within us, um, and we're all connected as one, then I'm like, hold on, let me make sure I can explain this right. I'm like, oh, I was like, I'm feeling like Marcus right now. I'm like, I have the information. I just want to be able to explain it properly. When you're saying the terms I am, you're basically connecting that with your higher spirit because you're connected to God. So if we're all connected to God, then we have that God self with God source, God self within us. But if you take it a step further, depending on the following that you go with, they say that God is your old man. The person that you see yourself to be in this world, with its senses. But when it comes to manifestation and you awaken your higher self, that's when you step into the Christ mind. because that's when you're creating the world that you want to live in.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's the metaphysical part.
and from my understanding is we're created in the image of God. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
we're all little pieces of God, and we just haven't awakened that extra. We have the capability. It's there. It's just like it's
Mm-hmm.
locked. What is it? We use less than 10% of our brain. If we
Mm-hmm.
opened it up, we would be not, I almost said more godlike, but we're already godlike because we were created in his image. But if we, but that, but there's part of it closed. So we're not as all knowing, I guess you could say.
Well, as you study and you awaken it and you like really delve into different, like if let's say we're using the Bible, if you delve into the Bible and you start seeing the awakening of things, then that's when the rest of your mind starts opening, which is where you get more into the occultic side of that Bible, of the Bible. And that's when we start talking about ascended masters. Because really it was them delving into the knowledge, applying that knowledge to be able to reach their Christ self and other deeper God self, which is where we get why we have some people that have ascended and some people who have yet to do that because they haven't stepped into that structure of going deep into their truer God beings.
Hmm. Now, though, I did say that there was one God, one great spirit, one whatever you want to call him. But this I find very interesting. Let me share it. Can you guys see that? I'm
Mm-hmm.
just okay. I'm gonna go over
Well,
here.
no, I can see the Exodus 20, chapter 20 verse, and thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Okay, let me blow it up there. So let me go over here and I'll read this. And I find this interesting, but I'll get to it in just a second. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt. I can't stand all these and thous. Um, which have hold it, fuck this. 23. God spoke all these words, saying, I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods besides me. Okay, what I find interesting about that, he's obviously talking about the Jewish people that, escaped the land of Egypt, roamed around the desert for 40 years and all this stuff. And he's saying, I am your God, the one that brought you out of Egypt. You shall have no other gods besides me. So is he identifying himself as, yes, I'm that God that did bring you out, but is he also saying, he's saying you shall have no other gods besides me? So are there other gods?
Okay, so do you want multiple answers to that or just one?
I just wanted to, we can discuss it because I just find that interesting. Because he said,
So
thou shalt
base
have no other gods besides me. I am this
so
God, the one that brought you out. So
so
are there other gods? He's saying from what if you dissect it, and we talked about this in Torah study too. It sounds like he's saying there are other gods, but he's the one that brought you out.
so there's two ways that can go. So yes, that is an acknowledgement that there were other gods
Mhm.
besides him. I mean, and that was evident. Like if we go all the way back to the stories of when they were enslaved and they were worshiping Ra,
Mhm. Because the
and
Egyptians, yeah,
the Egyptians. So for the people that worshipped him, there were not allowed to be other gods before him. And then when they made a graven image of a different god, a cow,
yeah,
he
the golden
destroyed it, right?
calf. Yeah,
So he's saying there is nothing above him. He got them all out, that
right,
he is their God. But he is acknowledging that there were other gods that were
yeah,
created or that are of different practices
right.
as well. Now, if you look at from a standpoint of who we are, which is going to kind of answer Day Day's comment, I agree with him. I do believe that we are gods. I do believe that we create our worlds.
Mhm.
Um, and if we have God in us, then when we elevate, what else is there to be? but back to your God self or part of that larger being as God.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were certain writings and texts that said that you're not to make any graven images, even of him.
Mm-hmm.
But yet you have people that made graven images of Christ and of who they thought God was. And instead of focusing on the God self, the God being, then you look at these statues, these
Right.
small images that people created, and you worship them and give
Idol worshiping.
idol worshiping instead of saying to the higher being itself.
Right.
So I
So
think
I
also like that text is to prevent that. I mean, there have been many stories like you have people who have the saint of protection, all the different angels, all these things, but in reality, who's to say that's what those beings look like?
right. And there's also the hierarchy too. When you talk about the angels, that kind of uh, Latika Bush wrote, "Let us make man in our image." That goes back to Genesis chapter 6. No, chapter 2, and later on in chapter 6. Chapter 6 is the one I believe that it says that, because there were two sets. Remember, he made two sets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so us in our image, he had angels at that point in
Mm-hmm.
Genesis. Because if you want to go to uh, the Christians, Jesus wasn't born until John
Mm-hmm.
or Matthew. Well, they're all the same. They're the same thing
You
written in
definitely.
different versions.
Who's Ann Powers with Bark Tech?
She is blocked. That's who she is.
Hey, Tanya.
But I already blocked another one that put that same link in there.
Octavia something. Yeah.
They try to put the links in the live chats because I have it blocked where they can't do it in comments, just regular comment.
Ugh.
So, yeah, she blocked.
But you're right. But if you go ahead.
No, go.
But also, it's been stated if you say, "Let us make man in our image," that is also proof that God was not only by him; he was not by himself. For all we know, there could have been the female version, a goddess next to him, because then comes about the making of woman.
Well,
So, woman is not directly made in
I think
his image.
I think he's I don't even know the word. It's not transgender, but he has all genders
He
in
has
him.
no sex,
Yeah,
no specific gender.
well, but because he has everything. I
We
say
can't
he,
say
she.
asexual. We can't.
No, not
Asexual.
asexual, but like yeah, has
Unisex.
feminine and masculine both.
But that would be
They're
hermaphrodite,
androgynous.
androgynous. No, is that the right word?
I
I have to
mean, you're
look it up
looking
now.
at a male that has female attributes or a female that has male attributes, that's interchangeable. But how do we know that it's a he? How do we know it's a she?
It's both.
That's it.
As far as I'm concerned, it's both. It has the attributes of both. Whether that's why, if you want to say he, say he. If you want to say she.
But what if it's just an entity and it's not male nor female?
But we were made in.
You're right. You're right. It's androgynous.
But we were made in their image.
But who says that we were made in their image?
They do.
The Bible.
So the Bible was written by men. How do we know that's true?
Well, it
Mm-hmm.
supposedly the first 5 books were divinely translated to Moses up on Mount Sinai.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I can tell you, I can say color blue. You can tell she color blue. And by the time it gets to the 21st person, it can be the color red. So we know that the Bible is up for interpretation. And that's a whole nother discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
agree with Jed Brown. I like Jed Brown's comment. But yeah, no, it is a different discussion.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's interesting because we look at God or goddess as a being male or female. And it is interesting how many people, if you go to cultures where women have no power and men are in power, God is male and God is the Almighty. You can't do any other traditions or do anything outside of that belief system because of the masculine energy that holds women captive. So,
Yeah.
your tradition plays a big part in what you practice and what you believe in, and whether you believe God is a goddess or is a god, is it a male or a female. There's so many
I think
aspects to this.
so. Okay, just a side note. I know it's like a little off. I think we have to balance this out because we've all seen the Bible, but there's a book, I believe it's in the Czech Republic, that supposedly a guy said Satan came and wrote through him. So can we go see that too?
No, say that again.
There's a
Say,
satanic there's a guy who was a prophet of Satan and said Satan came through him and wrote a book, and it's like it requires 6 people to carry it. That's how big it is.
well, why wouldn't Satan write a book? Why wouldn't he want to give his side of the story? I mean, if we go by the biblical aspects, why wouldn't any of the spirits that were mentioned in the Bible not want to tell their side of the
But
story?
can we go see it though? Is the question? Do y'all want to go see it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see. I want to see what he got to say.
I know we can't touch it.
If he said, she said, somewhere in the middle is the truth. I'm all for it.
Yeah, because I mean, even like our history books, we don't know the whole truth because we only get the side that of the winning people because the other people are dead.
Well, and that goes back to the biblical aspect of who is God, because, like you said, the kids that are growing up now, because of this political climate, so many things are being taken out of the history books because it's offensive.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to read about it. They don't even want the statues up because they don't want to address it. So you're robbing people of a history that happened, things that happened. And in the biblical sense too, with God. When I first went into voodoo, people were like, oh, you can't practice that because, that's a sin. God doesn't want you to have any other deities or other gods before him. And then the Pope came in and was like, I'm cool with voodoo. Catholicism is cool with it because there's aspects of it in there. But there was never a moment that spirit came to me and told me that I could not practice.
Right.
So, whether you believe in a higher power or higher being, I never got that I never was struck by lightning because I believed in something different than what I was raised to believe.
I think for me, making the decision that I was going to step outside the box that I was raised in definitely caused a lot of fear, right? The first thing we hear about is you're going to hell. But I think what really made me nervous when deciding, okay, I believe there's a higher being, this isn't working for me, is every time something negative would happen, of course, my Christian counterparts would say, that's because you left God. And that's why all the negatives happening. So I didn't get struck by lightning, but I did have a tough part. But that could once again be, my mindset of having that fear that something negative was going to happen because I was leaving,
It's easy. It's easy to program people in religion. It's easy to program people in spirituality. We have a lot of women that are giving up their careers and going into the Amazon jungle to lay up with black men and these polyamorous relationships because they feel like that these guys have some sacred knowledge. People are always looking for a place to belong. They're always looking for a leader to follow or something to believe in. And it depends on what your mindset is.
Well,
There's always going to be people that make you feel bad about decisions that you choose that go against the grain.
Well, but also, it's easy to program people in religion because it's easy to program people with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
in my opinion, a lot of Christianity is based out of fear. If you don't do this, it's a sin, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, it's a sin, you're going to hell. You've done something wrong. But I think for me, do I think there's something wrong with believing in a God and doing what you're doing? No, I don't. I know that for the longest time, there's been we can say the big argument of, are there really Christian witches? And in the community, that's one of the biggest arguments that's out there. Are there Christian witches? How can you be a Christian and a witch at the same time?
There are.
When it says that, you know, in the Bible, you cannot be a witch. Don't suffer a witch to live. But reality, that is not the translation of that passage. But
that goes back to how it was written and the interpretation of the person who wrote it and the bias of the person who wrote it. You know, and you said something about religion, you know, that control people through fear. That's any tradition, religion, cult. The way to keep people underhand is to say that there's consequences to your behavior. Even in voodoo, if you do something wrong with the Loa, you might come back and get spanked. If you do something wrong with an Orisha and it's disrespectful, you may come back and get spanked. Is there truth to some of it? With biblical, I kind of call it cleaning up the mess. You know, are there consequences to connecting with certain deities? Of course. Is there consequences of connecting with certain entities? Of course. Has God ever struck me down? I mean, I was raised Catholic. You couldn't have premarital sex. I had premarital sex. I didn't die.
Didn't you have sex in the parking lot at a Catholic school?
I probably did. I'm pretty sure I did it.
Disrespectful. Just disrespectful.
But I did get down in somebody's parking lot in front of a church. I do remember that because I remember the cross and thinking I was going to go to hell, but I did not go to hell because God loves me. He loves sinners. He's trying to save me.
Look. We haven't passed on yet. For all you know, you may be driving the bus. You have to pick the rest of us up. Who knows how it's going?
Well, hey.
and plenty of people go into churches and get holy water. Nobody's blown up or exploded.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, even in Christianity, it says that we serve a forgiving God. Now, do we serve a God that is going to be angry and punish us, you know, unmercifully, or is he going to forgive us and love us and try to save us? I get confused on that. Are you going to kill me or are you trying to save me?
Right.
What we doing? What we doing?
Contradictory. It's definitely too contradictory for me. I think for me, my question came when I was like, how many people in the Bible did Satan kill? And I'm not saying I'm a Satanist, but I was like, how many people did he kill? And I was like, man, but God wiped the whole planet. The whole planet.
Except for 7. Except for 7 people.
Except for 7, but he has definitely had cancel culture from the jump. So
yeah. I mean, and then I think who was it? Day asked, how did I move towards voodoo outside of Catholicism? So I was raised Catholic. I always say I was born Catholic because my whole family was Catholic. And from the time I can remember, everything was about Catholicism. You know, you did your first communion and you did your confirmation. You went to mass. I went to private schools, Catholic private schools, and graduated from an all-girl Catholic private school. So I was Catholic to my core. I was even going to be a nun. Y'all already know this.
Hey, I'm dead on that.
But Milo, hold up, you guys. Damn it. Jump in my lap. Stop climbing up my leg, boy.
Oh, so let me let you know this as you continue. That's your cat. You're going to keep that cat, just so you know.
You think so? Are you going to stay with me?
Yes.
You going to stay with me? With his bad self. Why I always get the bad ones?
Actually,
like attracts like, girl. Like attracts like.
Now every time you're like, Milo. Now you know how Sophie is.
Yes. I got a Milo. So going back to it, I also had family in Louisiana that practiced voodoo and root work, that were Catholic, that went to church. And you're going to see this a lot. You're going to see a lot of people, like Lynna say, there are a lot of people that pop in and get holy water. There's a lot of people that go in and put petitions in for loved ones that they're working. Elisa was sharing working with curses. And I knew this when I was little, where if you wanted to do somebody in, you would take their name to the church and you would give it to the grief committee and they would pray and cry for that person, and that they rest in peace, that they make their way to heaven. This person was very much alive and that was a curse. But this is what Christians and Catholicism and Catholics did back in the days. You have people that use the religion to, put order and put the fear of God in people. So I grew up with both sides. I stopped practicing Catholicism when a lot of things came out with molestation. There was a lot of different aspects of Catholicism that I did not agree with. Birth control, having these young girls sit out here and have babies and counting days and shit and pulling out method and all that stuff. It didn't make any sense to me. It was primitive. Some of their belief system to me was very, very primitive, and it wasn't changing. So I decided I didn't want to practice anymore. And I was wandering and wayward for a little bit. And then, I got called to voodoo. The spirits came to me and I answered. And, now I practice both. There's a lot of Catholicism in voodoo. There's a lot. But, I mean, I'm at peace with what who I serve, what I serve. So and I'm old. I don't really give a shit what people believe in.
But so I don't. Into where does God fit into your life now?
God is, I believe in a higher power. Even in voodoo, there's Bonje, there's a God. There's a God in every system, regardless of what you call him, Yahweh, Jehovah, no matter what you call him, there's a God in every system. There's a higher power. So do I submit to a higher power? Of course I do. Do I believe that there's something out there bigger than me? Of course I do. I've seen miracles. I've seen things happen. I've gone to Haiti. I've seen these spirits do things that are supernatural. So, if you go back to the Bible and you believe that people can live for 365 years and not die, if you believe that people could, summon God down, and he would do their bidding, if you believe half the stuff that you read in the Bible, it makes you question, why can't we do that now?
Well, you've seen underwear appear.
I've seen a lot of things, especially with you. Miracles, I've seen a lot of things. But I know that there's a higher power that orchestrates a lot of this. I do know that because it's supernatural. It is supernatural, some of the stuff I've seen.
But wasn't voodoo, isn't voodoo the mix because they had to protect themselves, which is why they were having to integrate the Catholicism in with it?
They believe, and you hear that story, but here's the thing, Catholicism actually existed a long time. Africans actually practiced Catholicism in a form. So a lot of it is when you go back to the belief in God and in some of the prayers and things that are translated, there's some similarities. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with that because they're going to be like, okay, that's man-made, that's history and things like that. But there's a lot of traditions that go way back, way back, and they're integrated in a lot of these traditions. Now, were the slaves using the Saint candles to be able to practice? Yeah, there are certain saint candles that, they correspond with the Loa. So it was slaves' way of supposedly doing it in a way where they could practice their religion in plain sight without being, tortured and beaten for it, which is sad, but that is something that they had to do. Even in this day and age, I don't think voodoo needs it. I don't think we need to use the saint candles to hide what we're doing and praying, but because it's so ingrained in the tradition, it's been passed down. This is what a lot of people do, and so we carry the tradition on. Are there voodoo songs that completely disagree with Catholicism in it? Absolutely. There's some that can't stand it. They fight for it. They call it the white man's religion. They don't want any part of it. But I feel like your journey, you fit in where you get in with it. If it works for you, it works for you. As a Catholic, the prayers and dealing with the images of the saints is comforting to me because I know the saints. I understand them. Mm-hmm. So for me, it works. For somebody that maybe wasn't raised Catholic, they may see it differently though.
And that goes back to that hierarchy thing too. When you're, praying to the saints or whatever, you're not putting them before God. It's in addition to.
Well, here's the thing, and and it depends on what tradition you're in. In Vodou, the Loa are not gods. They're God's helpers because he's so busy, with all the craziness of the world that he doesn't have time to worry about the scammer that's, fucking with me on my page.
Oh, he's
So
from
when
Nigeria. I done posted it too. Area
oh,
the country code 234 is Nigeria.
well, of course. But what Bande did, when he came in and he said, I'm so busy that I'm going to give you these spirits that would be the equivalent of angels to help you with your mundane task. And that's what they do. We don't worship the Loa. We offer service to them, but it's a reciprocated relationship. We do for them, they do for us. We don't go and just, bow down. I don't think anybody should bow down to any deity. I
Right.
just don't. I think it's always a respectful working relationship. The moment that you start worshiping something and putting it above, your higher self or your higher power, you lose control because then you give that deity power over you. So, I mean, when I see it, they're a helpmate. They help me, I help them, and we do miracles together. We do things together, but it's all under the umbrella of a higher source.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing can happen unless he allows it, right?
Right. Well, yeah, pretty much. But he does give us free will. Always has.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
pretty much, what
Well,
we
that's why a lot of us make choices and a lot of us, stick with programming or, refuse to change because of the free will. Of course, you don't have to walk the path that is laid in front of you.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. But I felt comfortable with the path that I was walking on. And regardless of how anybody else feels about it, I really don't care. I don't. It works for me and it's what I'm going to do until the day I die. I can't see the chats. Let me see. Okay, Julia James. Here's the thing. Even with Mass, because I love churches. I love the stained glass windows. I love the way it smells, especially old churches. Like when I travel, I love to visit old churches because there is a sacredness there. They're altars. They're temples. So if you say you're a practicing witch, or you're a warlock, or there's a different belief system, you can go into the church and immediately connect with the altar, with the statues, with the flowers, with the candles. It honestly, it could go all the way across the board. It's just a belief system, right? Because an altar is definitely, if you go to the church and you go up to the pulpit, there's statues, there's candles, there's incense, there's a glass or bowl of water. It's an altar. It's a working altar. So, churches, especially, and if you invite me, I go to all kind of churches because I love the way that they look. I love the feel of them.
You came to Passover with me last year.
Yeah.
Since
cool.
Since you're Catholic, I have a question. How many times do you have to take communion before you eat a whole Jesus?
Before.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Do not. You just put me in a very awkward spot with Jesus because my mind went dirty. My mind went real dirty.
I'm up here. I'm like, do you know how many communions I have, and I still haven't eaten about it? Oh my God, we were just talking about it today.
Oh yeah, come on, Lynna. This is my homeboy. I can't do.
But it's the body. How many times you gotta eat it before you eat a whole Jesus?
Until you die.
Huh?
Until you die. Until you die.
I know who's gonna come visit you tonight. I know who's gonna visit you in your dreams tonight. He gonna be like that lame ass joke.
You gonna wake up with some communion grape juice and some crackers by your bed, he'd be like, "You give it a try." I'm like, "Go for it, Lynna. Go for it."
Shoot, a mouthful of communion wafers stuffed down her throat. Like here. Ooh, Lord, Lordy.
Oh, that's so messed up. That is so messed up.
I don't remember what I saw it somewhere or I heard it somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta ask Tonya. I'm gonna ask Tonya."
For all the Christians or Christian or Catholic proxy people, we're sorry for Lynna. We're sorry.
Oh yeah, because talking against Jesus is like talking against Beyonce. You gonna get blasted. You gonna get blasted. Somebody gonna say something. Let me go to the comments. Wait, let me look.
There's nothing up there yet. I already checked. I'm like, here we go. Lynna, like, oh, you making jokes about the wafers and the grape juice? I'd be like, ooh, Lynna, you started something.
Ooh, yeah. She did. I was like, look, I wasn't even trying to entertain it because I wasn't about to get got. Gonna mess around and make me have to go to communion and say 50 Hail Marys and I don't know how many Our Fathers. Good
And
God.
go up there like this, and you're gonna be looking at it thinking, "Oh, no, not today."
I'd be like, go ahead and make a donation, Tonya, because we got a tithe for Lynna's sins. Great, thank you. Now we gotta get more than 10%.
Real talk. When I used to clean the rectory, we would get into the wafer bag and we would go to town on the goddamn wafers.
I don't know what it is. They're the plainest wafers, but to me, I'm like, they taste so good.
I love how they melt in your mouth. I was fascinated how they melt in your mouth.
And you just crack a poop, and I'm like, and the worst part is when you go into that early morning service and they have communion, and you're dead hungry waiting to get for breakfast. That cracker is the best tasting thing. That grape juice, you like sip.
Oh, they don't have. They didn't have grape juice at St. Mary's.
What did y'all drink?
It was straight up wine.
Oh, well,
I thought all Catholic churches had wine.
Most do. I mean, and then I think they became politically correct because you had the Alcohol Anonymous that were saying that it was confusing recovering addicts that they had to go up there and drink alcohol, so they went to grape juice. But you have some older churches that still do wine. It is what it is. I need to quit talking because the more I talk, I feel like I am going to hell sinning. I did a lot of things in the Catholic Church that I wasn't supposed to do.
Oh, you look.
But they even give wine to the
next Sunday, next Saturday,
to the second graders when they do their first communion. They get wine. Yeah.
But when we were growing up, we drank wine. We did. I remember my confirmation. I remember my communion. We had wine. And then somewhere, like I said, there was this big out call for, no more alcohol. And then they went to grape juice, because now everything is, cancel culture. You can't do this because you can't do this.
If everybody's sipping out of the same cup, I'd rather have alcohol.
Right? But we had separate cups, and we always had grape juice. Because I can tell you what, if we had wine, I'd be up there like, I didn't get my communion. I'd be like, I didn't get my communion. Give me another 3 communions to make sure for the other communions that I didn't get. I have me a little bottle. Pour it in there. Nope. So no.
Well, it's so interesting when you look at traditions like that, because in voodoo, a lot of times we drink rum. When we spray, we drink rum. And I've never seen them substitute any type of apple juice, grape juice, or anything that was not alcohol in a voodoo ceremony. I have never seen that. So there's certain traditions that show that no matter how much people complain or fuss or whatever, they're not going to change because it's the tradition, right?
Right.
It's the way that it's been done and the way it's been handed down. And there's certain African traditions that no matter how people complain, they're going to still be the same. They're not going to be moved. But Catholicism had a lot of issues, a lot of things that are, it's still a lot of behind the doors, underhanded shit that they do.
They didn't want to Malibu, bro.
It's just church.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Catholic Church, you guys have the popes that are doing, and like the basic Christian church, we got the deacons. So, it's just, people. It's just people.
And I was just about to say that when people, when they have an issue with serving spirit and serving God, what they really connect with is the pastor or the leader of that church.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times these people are only human. We got pastors that are having sex with their church members. We have molestations. We have predators in the church. We have alcoholics. You know, the churches were meant for people that had issues to come in and find salvation, right? So we have a lot of people in there that are still struggling with things. But a lot of people, when they talk about stuff like this, when I read for them, they're like, well, my pastor says this is wrong. Well, your pastor's only human. He's a man. That's his opinion. You know, you always should connect with spirit when you are talking about
That's not even
tradition.
that's
Well, I
not
think
even just in Christianity either, because wasn't that there was some guy in an ATR having sex with women? Who was it? Or you had to
I
give him a
mean,
blow job or
you're
something? I don't remember.
always
it's
going to have
everywhere.
somebody.
It's everywhere. Look, it's
You're always going to have
everywhere.
a predator that is going to find a clique or a niche and try to take advantage, male or female. It's not just men.
Yeah.
Women
Yeah.
do the same thing too. But I think
Go
go ahead.
I think the issue is that when you're talking about religion, when you're talking about, you know, spirituality, these people get higher up, such as the pastor, the deacons, popes, they're expected to hold a certain level of reservation, wisdom, something. So, and you're supposed to be able to be safe with these people, right? I think, and saying they're telling you, right, and they're telling you it's a sin to do something, but yet you turn around and these big dogs doing the same thing. It's just people, and I think that's where a lot of the problem comes in, especially when it's preying on children. That's when it gets really bad, right? Just anything. So I think a lot of the issue is, yeah, they want to connect with the leaders of the church or the belief, but when those people are tainted, that causes a taint on everything, and it just is what it is. It causes a taint on everything, especially because a lot of the times when you find out the leader or the big dog is the one that's doing the dirt, then people, instead of addressing it, they try to cover it up.
But see, that goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. They're elevating those people above God. They're more like worshiping the people than they are God.
Well, you have some people that think they are God, even in your family. They think they know better. What you're doing is wrong. What you're practicing is wrong. What what you're interested in, that's not of God. How can you speak for God? I don't need an intermediary to tell me what my higher spirit or my higher power is trying to communicate with me. That's the difference between being spirit connected and not being spirit connected.
Mm-hmm.
When you're spirit connected, you don't have to go to multi clergyman or priest or priestess to say, is this my path? You know it's your path because you've already had this connection with spirit. They've shown you this. They've talked to you this. People nowadays, we becoming so dependent on other people's opinions on who we should be, who we should serve, how we should worship. Fuck that shit.
Right?
You should be able to walk the path that you want, even if it is with Satan. I don't have no issue with Satan. I don't know him like that. But if she said I'm gonna go work with him and walk with him with sister, you know what? I wish you the best.
It is. Yeah.
You know, maybe you can teach me some things. We have to stop being so closed-minded.
He was an angel.
Well, I mean, of course. But he gives such a negative connotation with a lot of things, but there are things that people are going to be called to that we don't have to understand because it's not our calling. Personally, so I'm not going to sit in judgment. I'll listen to somebody. You know, I had a lady, and we talked about this before. I was supposed to do an event, and she wanted to talk to me prior to the event because my friend had already hired me to do readings for, it was for her Soros sisters. And she wanted me to come in, and this lady was like, well, who is this Mambo Tonya? What does she do? And when she told her what I did, she was like, well, let me call her. The first 5 minutes of the conversation, the woman was like, you seem like a very intelligent woman. You seem like you have a very good heart. You seem like you are connected with spirit. And I was like, thank you. I will take that compliment. The next 15, 20 minutes, She started singing some song, Jesus, come and banish this demon. Banish this demon, bind her down, take away her gifts. And then she started praying. I pray against your business. I pray against your family. I pray against your health. I pray against, and I was like, chick, bitch, what? Hold up.
That's not very godlike.
What
That
we
is not very
doing?
godlike
And
at
you
all.
a pastor of a church and you casting me out? She cast me out 15 times. I cast you out. Cast me out? Where the fuck? Where? Where am I at?
Right.
But I
Where
think the
am
thing
I at
is,
that
once
I need to be
again,
cast out?
that goes to fear. That goes to fear. And that, you know what, honestly,
And that is not of God. I don't feel
it's
like
not of
that was
God. But
from God.
I think if we have a higher being, which, you know, going back to Kama, I do believe that we are God. I believe that if we have God in us and we were made from him, that we are God, and that when we all ascend or go wherever we go back to the higher spirit as like the connection, right? But my thing is, you can't cast something out that you don't understand. I mean,
No.
you can't. And so I feel like a lot of people, like, you know, you did my sister's reading, and my mom was kind of like, oh my God, oh my God. And I was like, there is no devil in the African religions. There's no
There
Satan.
isn't.
And she was like, what? I was like, there is no Satan. I was like, so, you know, you can't say they're worshiping the devil because he doesn't exist in that religion. And so I think a lot of people go by hearsay and fear instead of researching themselves, because once you research, then you're like, then it makes you think. Now, as
People
far
are
as
afraid
having
of
a
what they
required,
don't know.
Well, we're
afraid of what they don't know,
programmed.
but they also choose not to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a choice. You could like research, you can get the knowledge, because foolish is the man that answers before he really listens. Right? Isn't that
And
the
I
saying?
Jed, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Jed that was saying is fear is a method of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's a method of
Mm-hmm.
control. When
It
you go
is.
to a voodoo ceremony, the spirits don't come down and knock you on the head and blast you and tell you that you're going to burn in hell and things like that. They don't. What they do is they come in and tell you, you got a problem. Something's wrong with your health. You need to get stronger. You need to study more. They give you constructive messages because they're trying to help you navigate. They don't tear you down. And there's a difference between that and going to a church where a pastor is telling you you're going to burn in hell because you believe in something different than what she agrees with, he or she agrees with. That's not of God. You can't tell me
Mm.
that.
And I agree with that. That's why I say a lot of, to me, Christianity is a fear-based religion. You're scared to leave it because you don't want to go to hell. You're scared to go against it because you don't want to go to hell. And if you do something wrong, all sins are equal, right? You go to hell if you're not saved. If you don't allow them to save you, then you go to hell. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, it kind of wants to keep you in this one spot. And according to whoever you are under, you know, whatever pastor, whatever church you're under, you're subjugated to their opinion, their translation of the Bible. But in reality, if you sit down and you go all the way back and you research yourself, you may find that the interpretation is not what somebody else said.
Yeah.
And the way you
Absolutely.
relate to it is completely different. So, like for me, it would have never worked because I asked too many questions. I asked too many
Which you
questions for
should.
research.
You should.
But
Anytime
then
that
you were
you're following a belief system, you should ask questions.
But you were told to ask questions. The Bible said you can ask questions. Don't just follow anybody. And then you ask questions and you get in trouble. So
Well, that's people that are
it's
trying to manipulate and control. Because, and I hear that the same thing with a lot of godparents. A lot of godparents, like my godkids, can't ask me questions. They can't come to me and grill me. Why? What are you hiding? What do you not want these people to know? Because if it's a reciprocated relationship, there should be communication.
Mm-hmm.
There should be.
exactly.
You, especially in religion. If you are confused about something, if you get lost on your way, where are you supposed to go find the answer?
I was always in trouble. I was like, so if
Mm-hmm.
God is jealous and he's vengeful, and then they say you have to be like God, then why is it that when we're like that, it's a sin? And they were like, Miss Townes. I was like, oh, here we go again in the principal's office. I just felt like it was a logical
But
question.
it's a valid question.
I had questions.
Valid question. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody, especially in this day and age, needs to be a sheep and just following the flock. I think if anything, the pandemic has shown us we have to be proactive with our beliefs, with our health, with our money, with things that are important to us, because when you start letting other people think for you, you lose power. You know, we have a lot of people now that are, we had the whole thing with the unvax thing and all this stuff like that. There should be a place where you make decisions based on your life for the betterment of you. And there's people that when they put opposition, there's a reason. They don't want you to see something. They don't want you to think about it. And religion can be like that. Any religion can be like that.
Any
Cults can be
spiritual
like
belief.
that.
Any spiritual belief can be like that, depending on
Yeah.
who you're under and who you come across. I think my thing is, going back to your comment of having the middleman. I feel like many a times, especially during COVID and all the stuff that's happening, people were really searching for that connection, that spirituality. They had no choice but to sit there and face
They're
themselves.
still
right?
searching. Yeah.
But when it comes to that, needing that middle part, needing that intermediary, needing to be told what you can and cannot do, I realize that a lot of people require that because they want to play victim, and sometimes they don't want to take responsibility for their life. And I know I had this discussion with a pastor when he was like, why would you want to leave the church? I said, I believe in God. I said, I believe in God. I understand many of the concepts, and I have spiritual beliefs when it comes to God. I said, but I just feel like, why should I have to have somebody translate to me what God tells me is something different if I'm not, really resonating with it? I said, but then not only that, I think it's really messed up when people come in and they're like telling you that they did something, and instead of saying, okay, I made that choice, they're like, well, the devil made me do it.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference too between guidance and control.
Yeah.
You can go to a church or whatever kind of, thing you need to go to and have guidance to learn that tradition, learn that religion, and be guided without being controlled. But I think that the individual allows themselves to be controlled.
Well, and I will agree with you with that. Here's the thing. We join groups, we join religions, we join spirituality because we're looking for ourselves. We're looking for a place where we feel comfortable. And a lot of times when people find that place, it's easy to take that deep breath and just give over control because you feel safe. You found your community or your soul tribe. I think the problem that comes is not so much the people that are searching. It comes to the people that they find.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, if you do idolize a male or a female that is in a position of power or has a title, a lot of people think that means something, that they have some stronger connection with spirit. That's why we follow them, because they're the pastor. They can talk to God and have conversations that we can't. God is in all of us. We can all have that communication with him. But if you're not taught that from a childhood or age of a child, you grow up looking for that intermediary to be that voice for you. And I think that's where a lot of us probably got programmed, the majority of us, from children. It's like, okay, you can't do this because God will punish you. You go to the pastor, you talk to the pastor, they'll give you guidance, they'll tell you how to do it. If the pastor is an upstanding person, you might come out all right. But if you come off with somebody who's shady, you might get God. And we see a lot of that's happening. That's with any tradition. Look at all these people that joined cults and then drunk the Kool-Aid and died.
Yeah.
Because they believed in the leader. They didn't listen to spirit. They didn't connect with spirit. They connected with a person. And that's always going to be your downfall.
Yep.
I have a lot of people that you too, are people that I value your opinion. When I'm having an issue, either one of y'all, I will go to you and be like, okay, da happen. And a lot of times y'all will talk me out and say you're seeing it the wrong way or you're taking it the wrong way. But at the end of the day, I have to make a decision on what's best for me. So I take your guidance and I move forward. But I don't allow other people to think for me. And that's the problem when it comes to our spiritual growth. We're giving people too much power over us when you should be connecting with spirit, whatever that spirit is.
Well, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, but that's why there's a difference between religion and spirituality, right? That's why there's that thin line drawn between it. When it comes to organized religion, you're supposed to go by the translation of whatever person you follow, right? Because they're the voice of God. And so that's why a lot of the times at many churches, when you go against what was the translation of the person that was teaching you, you
But
know.
you shouldn't be following a person anyway.
But you see it in spirituality too. I've been in some of these groups where the admin on the page or the leader of the group is the Almighty. And everything that they say, these people are going to do because they're following the Almighty leader. They're not connected to spirit. They're connected to a person. There's a big difference. And we have to understand that if you're going to call it spirituality, there at some point, you have to connect to spirit. You can't just follow people. But yeah, you see it in spirituality. You see a lot of people that follow, we know a person that people will pay tens of thousands of dollars to take their class. And I read some of their posts and I'm like, I think this person is batshit crazy. But that's my opinion of them. But I see they have followers. So I'm like, okay, do you speak out on that? Or do you continue to let these people follow this person? And spirit says that they have to learn this lesson. So I'm just like, oh, but I won't be following.
I think,
but that's where the spirit comes in too.
I think I think it's just, for some people, just like many things, it's a trend, right? And you're automatically drawn to the most popular person because this person wouldn't have all those followers if they didn't know what they were talking about, right?
Absolutely. If I'm telling you that I can give you $1 million and teach you how to fuck people up, you're gonna follow me too. I guarantee you my memberships, my followers would triple if I put some disclaimer, if I put some stuff out there that was outrageous, because people want to believe in that. But we got to be realistic. We have to be realistic with the people that we give our energy to and the people that we allow into our energy, because some of it is not right. Some of these people are predators. They're scammers. They're just really, really good. Everybody wanted to be a witch the last 3 years. Everybody wanted to be a witch. They wanted to dress up like a witch. Everybody was putting on black clothes, painting dots on their foreheads, wrapping their head, listening to Erykah Badu, doing the little witchy dance on IG. Let them start burning us. Let them start burning us. Who's going to stand up for their religion? Who's going to die for the spirits?
Very few.
Very few, because it is a fad. It isn't, because if you truly connect with spirit and they've done some things for you, you have a commitment to them. It has nothing to do with an individual. It's to them. But all this dress up and make believe, and it's cute, and I could do my little belly dance with my waist beads on to get more followers. Shit, let them start persecuting us and see how many.
Right.
How many will stand up? Because a lot of them, it's not connected to spirit. It's not even connected to God.
I think the tough part is, for me, is to see people who really do know their stuff and people who really care about people and the community. And then you see someone who doesn't care about them at all, and they're the ones getting millions of dollars. And yet, if a person who knows their stuff raises their price by $10, people will be like, oh, you're expensive. Like, that's the one that gets me. But
I agree. But I think spirit, if you are connected to spirit, spirit will take care of you.
Yeah.
If you are truly connected to your deities that you work with, if you're truly connected to the spirits that walk with you, your spiritual court, you will be blessed. A lot of these people that are living high on the hog now, there's retribution that comes back from that, because you got it the wrong way. You did it the wrong way. If you play with spirit with people, there is consequences. I don't give a shit if you believe it or not. There's consequences to it. There's been some times where I've did some shady shit that I shouldn't have had to done. A spirit knocked the shit out of me. They knocked the shit out of me. And it wasn't a person. It wasn't a pastor, it was spirit. They were like, oh, hell no, you're not representing us like this.
I think in reality, as a practitioner, when I offer to help somebody, I don't want to ever make it so high that only certain people can access me. If I'm saying that I'm connected with spirit for me, and I'm saying I'm helping people, then I want to be able to connect with as many people as possible. And I think when you get to the point to where you're charging $25,000 for like a service, then you're not really caring about the people. You're just, to me, it just shows that that's not what you're connected with. I'm not saying that you're not getting blessed. I'm not saying that you should underprice yourself, because I don't believe in that. But I believe that I believe that spirit wants you to be able to connect with multiple people, not just like 1% people.
Right.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not all about the finances of it. You know,
Right.
here's the thing, we live in a culture where we got a couple of different things going on. We got people that are trying to connect with spirit. We got some people that are trying to find their way. And then we got people that are trying to build a brand, a spiritual brand. A spiritual brand to me doesn't necessarily mean that you're connected to spirit. It just means that you made a really nice oil. You got some really nice candles, and you have people that love what you do and they're interested and they're buying your products. Could you be spiritually connected? Yes. Could you not be spiritually connected? Yes. It's a product. You're selling a product. Are there people out there that actually are, you know, visiting the sick, going and feeding the homeless and doing whatever your calling is? It's going to be different. I'm not going to be judgmental, but I know for me personally, I made a deal with spirit that if they took care of me and my family, that I would give back to my community. And that's what I do. Free Fridays is only one of the things that I do. There's a ton of things that I do that nobody knows about because it's nobody's business. It's between me and spirit, because that was my deal with them. But it's important to me that I keep my commitment to them because they do take care of me. And, you know, whether they make me a wealthy person or not, my commitment to them is not going to change. Money, it's not about the money. It's about the commitment. And the people that know me know that. I mean, you know, shit, you know, I'm sitting on money that I could be doing stuff with, and I'm choosing, you know, I'm slow. I'm over here being slow because it's not the money to me. If I wanted to make major money, I could do a lot of classes and put a lot of things out there. But is it the right thing to do?
Well,
I don't think it is.
It's like the Six of Pentacles: give to receive and receive to give.
Yeah,
You should give back.
you should give back, and I don't want to take advantage of people. And I think that spirit, when you're connected to spirit, there is this thing of like she said, I want to do things the right way, and that speaks to character too. It speaks to character.
I think like for me, it would be, I remember when I got a reading and this lady was like, you know, eventually you're going to be charging $1,000 for readings. And I was like, I don't think I would ever do that, because that would go against what I said I wanted to do with my spirituality and my business in the first place, which is help
And
people.
also it would knock a lot of people out of getting your help.
Right. Help people find the best them and help them get to where they need to be. And a lot of times people come and they don't have that money. And I'm not going to turn somebody away who can't pay me $1,000. And I'm not going to even charge people $1,000 for a reading. I think that's crazy. But my goal is to just help as many people as I possibly can without underselling myself and pouring out my energy and not being able to replenish it. And I have to give back as well. I mean, you have to give of yourself when you're saying you want to help people. It could be just you go help at a shelter, or you buy people food when they least expect it, get somebody anything. But it's all a balance. It's all about a balance, because you can't ask for help from people if you're not willing to give it yourself when people need it. And
that's true. And I don't think abundance necessarily is just about money. I think when Spirit says, I'm going to bless you with abundance, it could be abundance of good relationships. It could be an abundance of happiness. It could be an abundance of good health. I mean, the pandemic, Spirit, literally, they blessed me. They blessed me with good health. They kept me strong. They brought clients my way. They made sure that my lights stayed on. They made sure that I got food, and I didn't get unemployment. I didn't apply for any loans. I literally, and not to say anything was wrong with that, because I don't think anything was wrong. I think you get in where you fit in with it. But Spirit took care of me. They took care of me through that whole gray area where I didn't know if I was going to have a job because my massage place closed down for 3 months. And Spirit sent clients. They sent more people to me to make sure, oh, your lights are going to stay on, your food is going to be there. And all I had to do was do my part to take care of them and to give back when I was supposed to give back. So I think if we're going to be like God, if you believe in God as a forgiving and very gracious entity or spirit, and you strive to be like he or she, then there is a thing, and it could go back to Catholicism, because I feel like I have a vow of poverty placed over my head, because money embarrasses me. I got to be honest, money embarrasses me. I don't know if I will ever be wealthy because of that, because money embarrasses me. And I think it's so much ego that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of losing myself and not being effective as a healer or as a priestess. And I don't want to lose that. It's important to me. So if money is important to you, you're going to focus on money. If spirit is important to you, you're going to focus on spirit.
I think I'm looking at the comment when they're like, that must be celebrities. Actually, it's not celebrities. There are a lot of readers that you come across, and they charge $1,000 for an hour, and you'd be surprised. $1,000 for an hour. I know a couple of coaches with spiritual coaches, they charge $500 for 30 minutes. So you'd be surprised when you do your research how much people are charging for services to help people. Which seems to just be able to cut it off. But like I said, that's their choice. Maybe that's what Spirit told them. Hey, I think you're worth $1,000. Charge that $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, but let's be realistic. We all know a person that picked up tarot cards and read for a month and then was charging people $300, for a 20-minute reading. And the readings were like, you're going to fly on a spaceship and meet, Mother Teresa. And people were spending money on this person, and this person was bankrolling this money, and it was like, are you kidding me? This is not even based on reality, but it was what people wanted to hear.
Yeah, and then they turn around, those same people that paid that money turn around and bitch about a $53 reading.
Yeah. But it was because in the $53 reading they heard something they didn't want to hear. So I don't know. She's right. I mean, there's definitely people that will pay that kind of money.
And they will pay that kind of money. And in all honesty, in all honesty, you have to be wise with who you choose, period, no matter which path you're going to follow. And it would be the same as, going to church, observe before following, just observe all the time and ask for guidance.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't want to be a slave to anybody. I don't want anybody thinking they own me and waving $1,500 in my face for a reading. There have been people that have offered to pay a lot more for emergency readings. And I'm like, no, this is family time. I'm not going to do it. At some point, you have to have principles. You have to have morals about what is workable for you and what's not. And I'm not going to say if the money is there and you want to take the money, take it. It wouldn't be my thing. It just would not be my thing. There's sometimes things that are more important, and I just don't want to be. I don't like the idea of somebody thinking they can do that. I get men that come in and they ask for a happy ending after their massage, and they're like, "I'll give you $100 extra." No shit, $100 to play with your penis. That's how much it costs. That's how you value me. That's what I'm worth. $100 to play with your penis, and then they get. Well, like I had one guy, he offered me $250 to sit on his face and shit in his mouth. Just shit in your mouth, $250. And all I have to do is squat and shit in your mouth, and you're gonna catch the shit. And he went up to $400. Now I'm not gonna lie. I thought about it. Because I was like, this got to be the easiest money that you could ever make. Sit and climb up and shit on somebody's face. I could not do it. I couldn't do it.
I know that feeling. This guy wanted me to pee in his mouth, and I had to go to the bathroom. He's like, will you pee in my mouth? I swear to God, the pee evaporated.
Exactly. It was like the shit dried up. Like nothing. It was like, I don't even feel like I need to do it. Spirit came in and said, wake your ass up.
I had to pee so bad before he said that, and then I was like, I didn't pee for hours after. I was just like,
yeah.
Like, sir, I am shocked that you asked me to piddle in your mouth. I don't have any words for that.
Yeah, but my spirits won't let me do the fuckery. They won't. Even if I think I want to do the fuckery, they won't. Now they used to let me do fuckery, but they don't let me do fuckery no more.
Oh, Shantia said she had someone offer her the same thing for $1,500. I don't know, for $1,500, I might have been able to make some pee come out. I'm like, hold on, let me drink.
Girl, $1,500. I probably would have hit him with some fumes. I can't say nothing when it came down, but I sure as hell would have. Yeah.
$1,500. I could probably find some pee.
Yeah. No, look, let me make a store run real quick. I need to go get something to help me out. I'll be right back though.
Make yourself comfortable.
Come on. And then, when you grow up Catholic, they tell you God is always looking at you. What the hell I look like? Climbing on somebody's face and shitting in their mouth. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a sure hellfire ticket to hell. I'm pretty
Probably.
Oh not that I wouldn't mind hanging out with some of the people that would do that. It might be cool, but nah.
Look, Data just said y'all all off topic. I'm like, yeah, we are. I don't even know how we got off topic.
Yeah, but it goes back to not all money is good money. And when you are trying to build a spiritual business, that's why you got, like, I had a lady I used to read for that would go get spiritual cleanses from a priest, and then he would give her oral sex and charge her $180. So you're going to get spiritually cleansed, and then this man goes down on you, gives you head, and then you pay him $180 for eating out your cat box. And she wanted to know if that was wrong because he was a priest. He was a person of status. And I was like, what does that have to do with your spirituality?
She could have went down to the seawall and got it cheaper.
Oh my God.
But it goes back to when people put people on pedestals and they think that they're representative of the spirit. They're representative of the God. We know people that have used, their magic, sex magic to manipulate people for money and things like that. So when it comes to these connections, I'm going to just say you need to connect with spirit. You don't need an intermediary to come and tell you what to do. And let's be honest, you don't even need a tarot reader. You don't need a reader to tell you how to navigate your life if you're connected with spirit. There can be some confusion here and there, but if you really listen to your spirits and the guidance, and and of course, that's our business. That's what we do. But if you're really connected with spirit, which other people on here are, you hear messages. Maybe you want confirmation. Maybe you want to make sure that you're hearing it right. And that's why you go to a reader or a diviner. But you don't technically need a third party to help you connect with your higher source. The God is in you. The God or goddess is in you. The messages, everything that you need is within you.
Going back, I saw Cousin's comment. Cousin, no, you should charge for your you should charge for your coaching. I understand charging. I'm just talking about when people gouge people. I'm just talking about that. Where they limit their sources, but yet say spirit told them to help people, but they can only help you if you pay $1,000 or for, like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But once again, maybe spirit told them to do that, and maybe like spirit told me, hey, Shishi, you're not going to charge $1,000 for 30 minutes.
Right.
I'm cool with that too. But
they do. They talk to you. They really do. They tell you what's acceptable to them, and it could be because they have bigger blessings that are coming your way that you don't even know. You know, that
So,
$1,000 may not be the money that you think it's gonna be, or there may be problems that come with that. So you
and so,
really don't know.
like, I mean, just from my perspective, I mean, I've been there. I've been where, like, before I was, able to, like, before I found spirit truly and, like, really connected, I was looking for help. And somebody was like, well, it's $1,000. Or, oh, you want 30 minutes of my time. You're looking at $500, $600. And so I was like, how can you ask someone who's looking for help, especially if that person's like, well, how am I supposed to get my finances right? How you can say the only way I can help you with your finances if you pay me $1,000, and they don't have
Yeah.
it. So leave that person out in the cold.
Well,
But
here's
then
the
turn
thing.
around and say, thank you with spirit.
Yeah.
For balance,
It's
you know what I'm saying? So
it's one of those things where it's kind of sad because you are right. A lot of people don't have it. When people come to me, they're desperate. You know, if they're having financial issues, they don't have the money to pay for the bath. So we're going to go ahead and make the bath. What they'll do is they'll cook me a plate of food and they'll drop it off. You know, I had a couple of people buy me purses when they money. It's like, look, I know this is not the same, but I'm going to give you this. Mama Star got roosters. She got dogs. I mean, people drop off animals at her house for help. So, and that was the way of the old root workers or old workers. A lot of times people didn't leave money with you, they left stuff, you know, clothes, cars, things like that. And, you know, as a healer, I just don't feel like I can turn my back on people because they can't afford me. What would I look like as a mambo saying, oh, you know, you don't have $1,000. I'm sorry, I'm not going to help you. It's never going to happen.
like a lot of my, like, when people are like, oh, do you do workings? I've actually been sending them to other people. Because I'm only doing certain workings right now. And actually, a lot of the time, there's not a flat price for my workings, because I listen to the person, I listen to what spirit tells me, like what they can
Mhm.
afford, and I base it off that a lot
Yeah.
lately. I'm like, this person can only afford that, and I'm cool with it. I accept it because what I've learned lately is that when I accept the price that I'm being told to charge that person, some way or another, I get some other blessing, some way that I was not even expecting. And so it's
Same thing
worked
with
out
me.
better.
Same thing with me.
So,
I don't worry about it. I know spirit has me. If I want to take a class that's $300, I may not get $300 all in one lump sum, but they're gonna make sure that I have that money when the class comes. And I've just gotten used to that. I have, but it shouldn't. I mean, really, it shouldn't be about the money. It just shouldn't.
but yep, now we're off topic again. So, but we're an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, I put up a poll. Right now, let me go look. Right now, I know it's got 3 options. You guys are allowed to to add an option if there's something you want to talk about that's not on the list. Add it. It says add an option. You can type it in, and then after you type it in, make sure you vote for what you typed in. So because every vote counts. Right now, we have um, changelings and walk-ins. Then we have Am I Seeing Dead People? Was it real? And then we also have paranormal activity caught on film. Now somebody did suggest how to get rid of witchcraft spells and negativity. Please add that as an option and vote on
That's
it.
good.
Because if it's not added in, if it's don't just write it in the comments because that's well, I ain't getting paid to come back and do extra work, to be honest. Y'all, if you want something, type it in. You got to type it in the comments. Why not just type it in as an option?
That's a good one because you got a lot of people throwing at people for no reason.
hmm But it needs to be typed in, so type it in, and then let people vote on it.
Okay.
So we don't know yet. It's wherever the ball drops next week. So y'all go
Sounds
vote.
good.
I'll put the link to the group in the comments, and y'all just go over to the group. If you're not in there yet, join the group and then go vote. It's a private group, so you can't just vote and not be a member of the group because we got too many shiesty people. Not us personally, but there are too many shiesty people out there. Let me see.
It's snowing over here, y'all. I'm like, I'm kind of cold.
Wow, already?
Yeah, we've been getting snow.
It was 50 degrees this morning. I still got that's you see me doing my arm back and forth. I got the remote to the heater. The heater's under the desk.
I'm sitting on my
Sure.
heating mattress under my covers, so I'm like, oh yeah, it is officially winter. And we put up our tree today, so it's cold.
I've been sleeping with that weighted blanket.
It's like springtime over here.
Oh,
In
well,
fact, I'm going to go cut my grass and work in the garden.
I'm coming to your house next weekend. Come mow my grass. I'm just being lazy. I got the mower. You ain't even got to pay for gas.
You got to feed me, girl. If you're going to put me to work, you got to feed. You know how I am about food now. I'll come work for some food.
Last time you lived in my house, did I not have a feast?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Oh God, y'all.
All right, my loves. Well, I love you. Everyone, please be safe. Thank you so much for chiming in. I like these because I learn much. As much as I talk, I learn a lot. I like everybody's different perceptions and opinions. I feel like I'm getting more educated with things, more open-minded as we do this. So
Yeah.
it should be good.
So make sure y'all go vote. Go join the group if you're not joined and vote. Because, just like the witchcraft thing, that's not something that I had up there, but add it. Because we want to talk about this stuff and other people want to hear about it. So make sure y'all go do that. All right, guys.
And plus, it helps us learn. It helps us learn. I said it helps us learn.
It does. It does. All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Cheers.